Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Hagaduck3 and welcome to Tech Saturday episode 24, where today I'm giving you guys and gals a $700 Intel build. And as always, I will have a link to this build in the description below. With that said, let's get started. For the CPU, I went with the Intel Core i3-4130. This is a dual-core CPU clocked at 3.4 GHz. It uses the LGA 1150 socket. It does support hyperthreading, and it has a TDP of 54 watts. So this is the same CPU that I used in my $600 Intel build, and I think one question people might ask is, why not an i5? Well, my answer to that is, you don't need an i5 for gaming. Unless of course you're planning on using a high-end GPU, but for a budget gaming build, this CPU is great, and it's only going to cost you $114.50. For the motherboard, I decided to go with the MSI B85G41. This is an ATX motherboard that uses the Intel B85 chipset. It has 4 DIMM slots, and the max memory this board supports is 32 GB, and the max memory speed this board supports is 1600 MHz. This board does support Crossfire but not SLI, and it has 6 SATA 6 GB ports and a USB 3.0 header. So I went with this board because it's a great board for budget builds. It comes with everything you need to get up and running, and extra ports, so down the road you can upgrade to, let's say, an i7 or add more storage, you name it. And this board is only going to cost you $79.49. Now for the memory, I went with 2 sticks of Kingston Fury Black Series, so both sticks are 4 GB in capacity, so in total you're getting 8 GB of memory, and both sticks are clocked at 1600 MHz. So there's not much I can really say about this memory, other than Kingston's memory is reliable, 8 GB of memory is more than enough for gaming, and this memory is only going to run you about $64.99. Now for the storage, I went with the Western Digital Caviar Blue. This is a 1TB hard drive that spins at 7200 RPM. So nothing new here, I've used this drive many times in previous builds, and it's the same reason every time. The only thing you need to know is that this drive is reliable, and it should get the job done for you for only $55.99. And now for everyone's favorite part of a gaming build video, the graphics card. So for the graphics card, I went with the XFX R9270. This is a 2 GB card that uses GDDR5 memory. It has a core clock of 900 MHz and has a TDP of 150 watts. And for the ports, it has 2 DVI-I dual-link ports, 1 HDMI port, and 1 display port. So I went with this card because it's going to give you great gaming performance for the price. With this card, you should be able to play most games on ultra settings at 1080p, but for some games you will need to turn the settings down to high. Still, that's pretty awesome. And this card is only going to cost you $159.99. Now for the power supply, I went with the EVGA 600B. This is a 600 watt power supply that is non-modular and is 80 plus bronze certified. So I went with this power supply because EVGA makes awesome power supplies, and this power supply has more than enough wattage to power the system now and down the road for only $59.99. And finally for the case, I went with the NZXT H230. This is an ATX mid-tower case that has 2 front panel USB 3.0 ports, 3 external 5.25 inch bays, 6 internal 3.5 inch bays, and the dimensions are 7.68 inches in width, 17.6 inches in height, and 19.76 inches in depth. And the maximum GPU length in this case is 11.42 inches, but if you take out the drive cages, that gets bumped up to 15.75 inches. So I chose this case because I like NZXT cases. I love that even though it's a budget case, they didn't sacrifice design. It's a beautiful looking case that gives you room to upgrade down the road, all for only $59.99. And that is the build. So the estimated wattage that this machine will be using is 303 watts. And if you would like to purchase the hardware of this build without a copy of Windows included, your final price is $594.94. And at the time of making this video, there is no price difference if you get this build with Windows 7 or Windows 8.1. So if you would like to purchase the hardware of this build and a copy of Windows 7 or Windows 8.1, your final price is $694.92. And as always, like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you hated it, and that is it, and I will see you all in my next video. This is your boy Hagaduck3, and I'm out. God bless.